Wait for it. Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos coordinator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guests introduce themselves to our listeners and viewers at home. And in no particular alphabetical order, we have Mr. Alexander G.R. Gideon.
Hey guys, it's great to be on the show for the first time. I'm the pan-librarian wizard, Alexander Gideon, and my writing can best be summed up by the phrase, and many people died. I write fantasy of all flavors. I've written more sci-fi than I've read or watched. I write horror. I've got romance that'll be on the way. Basically, pay me to write it, and I will.
All right, so you are word mercenary. I approve.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, next we have Miss Jana S Brown, who sometimes comes to us as Jena Rey and sometimes names that shall not be named.
That's right. We don't talk about those ones. I'm Jana S Brown, and I'm usually here in person, but it is spring break, and I'm hanging out with the in-laws, and their bandwidth is less than ideal. So keeping the camera off this time, but it's the same old me. I write under the pen name Jena Rey, at least for all things speculative. I write the weird and the wonderful, often with smoochies, and then other pen names, I write other stuff. So happy to be here. Going to be fun.
Any truth to the rumor that you had to dial up through AOL to get on the internet tonight?
Well, the modem sounds occasionally kick back up, but you just keep booting at it until the baud goes up high enough to connect. So we're good.
It's U.S. Robotics 9600 baud modem, isn't it?
Darn straight. That 9600 was important.
What are these people talking about?
Shut up. Shut up, Junior.
And this is the real reason Skynet went live, because it had to get revenge for all of their brothers and sisters we sacrificed to get on the internet.
Oh, ain't that the truth?
All right, next we have the outlaw author himself, Mr. Jesse James Fain.
Hey, everybody. I am Jesse James Fain. I do go by the outlaw author because the branding writes itself. I write pretty much anything with a sword fight, a fist fight, or a gun fight because I practice those things a lot in real life, and I like to try and sneak in a little bit of real life fighting into your fictional experience.
All right. Next, we have Mr. Michael LaVoice.
Oh, it's my turn. Hey, Michael LaVoice, author of Galaxy's Most Wanted and the recently released Gladius Leagues, books 1 and 2. Book 3 is forthcoming. I write science fiction like space opera, military sci-fi, and I dabble in fantasy as well. And romance, but it was only the one time.
That's what she said. Ba-da-bum. And in fact, Michael is so dedicated to getting the science right that he is actually filming this on location from his bunker on Mars. So if the sandstorms get really bad, he might be stranded like Matt Damon, and we might lose him. But
the cool bit is Elon promised that Shatner was going to drop by later. I'm waiting on that. So
that's awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
Are you going to have some Earl Grey hot?
No, Shatner. We're going to drink whiskey probably.
That was my only Star Trek reference, all right? People just go with it.
Spot, boom, Scott.
All right, next we have Mr. Robert Max Tillsley, or Max Tillsley if you prefer when you read his books. He is coming to us from the fictional land down under, sometimes called Australia.
That's right. This is purely a movie set. If something falls over, you'll know that it's all fake. I write science fiction and fantasy for adults and for kids around sort of 9 to 13. There's usually action, adventure, mystery. Sometimes it sort of gets a little bit towards horror. Sometimes it's sort of a bit light and fluffy. And I just randomly write whatever comes into my head at the time. So that's probably enough from me.
You wrote one of the most horrific scenes I have ever seen, though, in one of your Choose Your Own Adventures.
Death by pizza?
Yes, you forced someone to eat pineapple pizza till it killed them.
So the first slice, got it.
Hey,
yes.
oh, that's harsh. Ooh, hey. Shots fired.
Kids can handle dark stuff,
The children yearn for the mine. That's what they tell me. They yearn for the mines.
But apparently, they can't handle Polynesian citrus fruit on pizza.
I mean, people have to have professional standards, all right?
You never have.
No, that's why I'm here. Putting up with you.
You're gonna be burned, heel.
Thank you, everybody. This will be my last show.
Oh wow, he's having that those issues already. Disappears.
All right, last but certainly not least, we have the many voices of Teri K. Jobe.
Yes, hello everybody. I am Teri K. Jobe, voice actor, audiobook narrator, and baby author. I'm working on that. Here to have a good time and try to keep up with all these awesome people. Good luck me.
So for the record, you can't really call yourself baby author once you have your first published thing. So you're a pro.
Yeah, but they're just short stories. They're not a full book yet. It's coming. It's coming.
I mean, it counts. There are people who make a living with nothing but short content.
This is true.
The important part
Peter
is
Dinklage.
author.
Yes.
Yep. There you go. So we actually are going to be having
this
on.
voice though. It's fun.
Yeah, we're going to be having on one of your favorite people to talk about a book you're narrating in the not too distant future. Certain strange lady from Virginia. You might know her.
Ah, yes. We've met.
All right.
Gosh, no, we haven't. That's a lie. We've met digitally.
That counts. It's the internet.
Yeah,
so in the 90s, our parents warned us about strangers, and now we make friends with them and call it good.
Mm-hmm.
And we use the internet to hire strangers to get in cars with them too. So I mean, it's like triple winning right there.
Strangers deliver us food. Tell me that's not crazy.
Well, I don't actually do that part of it because I'm cheap. Because I'm like, well, if I could get it myself, it's $10. If I get it delivered, it's $20. Yeah, the gas is only $5. I'm going to get it. So I make the.
But just think, all the effort that we did to make it so that medicines couldn't be tampered with, and now we just eat whatever some rando brings to us.
Now, is it true in Australia that you actually have Uber and Lyft actually just use kangaroos and you ride in the pouch? Is that true?
Look, absolutely, it's brilliant for milkshakes.
Oh, sweet! It just mix.
Yeah.
Public transport is a bunyip.
So is that why the McDonald's in Australia have functioning milkshake machines? It's the ruse?
Yeah, see, it's actually a conspiracy. We're the only place in the world that has functioning Sunday machines.
Because you have a different contractor that works on them. That's probably it.
Yeah.
Terry's like, okay, how much is a flight to Australia?
What is that? I read somewhere it's something like 21 hours on a plane to get there. Dude, I don't even want to do something that feels good for 21 hours straight. I don't want to fly.
So Terry, here's the warning. Don't go in such a hurry you forget your husband at home. He might get offended.
Yeah. So I have to double whatever the cost is. Which, oh boy.
Luckily, you don't double the time.
That makes it expensive.
That's true. Oop, you're over there.
Or you could go old school and like take a boat, a sailboat. There you go.
Ooh.
That would take
Or
like
roll a little bit, my upper body workout in.
Yeah.
Now you're talking 21 months. No,
I'm told the sea air is good for your narrating. So like you could totally get some books in as you're rowing across the Atlantic.
I could. Atlantic? Pacific?
I mean,
how portable is your booth?
Listen, it's gonna be a while if you're going across the Atlantic.
It's a closet, not very.
I'm just saying, like on the East Coast, I have to start on the Atlantic. So I mean, I just assumed all the cool people are on the East Coast.
True.
Oh, harsh words.
I'm landlocked.
All right.
Look, it's all one ocean. It's all the same ocean. It all touches itself.
That's
I'm
right.
landlocked at the moment,
True.
but give these storms a few hours and that might change.
I mean,
Icky water.
That's true. I think Michael needs the rowboat more than I do.
I live in Asheville. The hurricane did its best to make us ocean.
The ocean came to you.
Now that is what we call delivery with a promise. They fulfilled.
Funny enough, though, as bad as the hurricane was in Asheville, my house is in this like perfect bowl, so it like nothing really happened. The only thing the hurricane did was there was this big dead tree out front that we wanted to take down, and it just laid it down exactly where we wanted it to be.
Well,
Did
that's
you
good.
get firewood out of it too?
What was that?
I hope you at least use it for firewood because might as well take advantage.
Not you. It's one of those that you touch and it just like powders.
Oh.
So kindling.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
sniff it though. That's not that kind of powder. All right.
Oh, that hurt.
That'd be a nasal bleed you wouldn't forget. Ooh.
I mean, people used to actually sniff tobacco. So I mean, if you could do that, and I play for a Highland Games.
Move on. Move on. Oh.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Don't do this at home, people. Alexander, this is your first time on the show. You do have to answer the religion question. Are you ready for this?
Sure.
All right. Star Wars, Star Trek, or Firefly?
Star Wars.
Go on.
Fair.
I don't know that I understand right now.
Now, is there a reason that Star Wars speaks to you?
Because Star Trek and Firefly don't.
Okay.
Honestly, I remember the prequels. We do a thing at some of the cons. It's geeky rants, and it's like the unpopular opinions. And my unpopular opinion has always been that the prequels are no better and no worse than the original movies. It's only nostalgia that makes people think the originals are better. But I grew up with the prequels, so that's what I went to the theaters on.
I mean, I didn't grow up with them, but I was in high school, and Natalie Portman was a nice-looking young lady back in the day.
I mean, that is still the best Obi-Wan. Like, let's be real. And he carried 3 movies.
Well, the prequels also give us some of the best moves
Yeah.
when he's out there with Padme on that picnic. The 4 panels that are used for just about every meme, like hilarious. And I appreciate a good meme. It's like my love language. Forget all the other stuff. It's memes.
I mean, it's the general. It's the hello there, and it's like someone on someone else's shoulder. They're like General Kenobi.
All right, because we are polytheistic here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, Game of Thrones, Wheel of Time, Chronicles of Narnia.
None of them.
Okay, what would you pick instead?
I mean, I do have the Tree of Gondor on my arm, so it's definitely Tolkien. Grimdark is really hard for me because I find myself either not wanting to read because I'm like, they're gonna die, and I don't want them to die, or it's like the Prince of Thorns, like Mark Lawrence, phenomenal prose. God, I hate that MC. And I'm just like, I can't read a series with the main character that I want to die the entire time. I'm just like, please, somebody kill him.
Wow, you're really a dichotomy, man. It's either you're scared they're going to die or you actively want them to die.
It's like,
I feel like
outstanding.
It's either the like, I'm being made to like this character so that I get the impact of them dying. And I'm like, I got enough bad in my life right now. Like I don't need like my favorite people to die on page with me, or it's just like they're the most repugnant people you've ever like read. Narnia, I've just of the Inklings, always been a Tolkien fan. I always just thought Narnia was just felt weird. And Wheel of Time, I tried to read Wheel of Time, and I was on like chapter 21, and I was like, wow, 1 chapter worth of events has happened. Why is this so slow? And I could not slog through it. It was just a little bit too slow. So I will say it's Tolkien or Mr. Terry Brooks, because the Shannara series is just phenomenal fantasy.
yes. Terry Brooks is a good one. Did you read all of the books? I think there are like 23 of them.
I've read most. I think I cannot remember what the last one that I was on. I think there might be 2. I was on there was 2 more after the one that I had just finished, I think. But I mean, Voyage of the Jewel Shannara is like one of my favorite trilogies, and is like some of my favorite. Also, the Heritage of Shannara with Walker Bowe. It's phenomenal. I got to meet Teri at RavenCon a couple of years ago.
Oh, nice.
And that man is exactly who you want him to be. He is the most just sweet, humble man. We were in the we were hanging out like at the bar, and I was like, everyone was coming up to talk to him because he had come down to hang at the bar, and I was trying not to like bother him, and he kept seeing me like looking over, and at one point he just looked at me and just went, and I'm like, he has every right to be like, you know, one of the biggest heads in fantasy. It's Teri Brooks, and he is just so humble, so down to earth. He is phenomenal. I'm so glad I got to meet him, panel with him at RavenCon.
And for those of you who didn't watch, you were listening at home, he was giving the come hither gesture at the bar. So, so Alexander could come in and talk to him. I feel for his mother, though, because he was so head in the clouds. He's talked about this on some panels that are out there on YouTube. So if you look for it, he was so head in the clouds. His mom's like, go outside and play. You got to put the books down. So him and his friends, and you know, I think he was New York, Chicago kind of vibe based on the description. They got on their bicycles. They got broom handles and the lids to the 55-gallon trash cans, and they jousted on their bicycles. And his mom saw them after, I guess, somebody got knocked off. And she's like, you know what? Go back and read. I'm just like, as a parent, picturing like, ooh, yeah. Ooh. And then you start thinking about like the medical bills, right? And it goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
And everyone I know who's met him has said he's awesome. I will say that for a period of my life, I actively looked at the stones around me because I wanted to find the elf stones too. So yeah, for me, that's the one that I think. Obviously, everybody's read Tolkien. We took it off the list because it was hard to compete with that for anything else. So everyone would be like, "Oh yeah, Tolkien," but Shannara is right up there.
Oh yeah.
So, all right, and one of the crying shames of growing up and getting older is people stop asking us the important questions. So we are bringing this back. What is your favorite dinosaur and why?
So I'm gonna have to say Spinosaurus, even though the reason why isn't technically like really Spinosaurus, but it's Jurassic Park. It's 2, right?
3, I believe.
It was 3. That Spinosaurus was an absolute menace. I mean, like the moment where they're on either side of the fence and they're going, and then they hear the ringtone go off a couple times, and then they turn around, and Spinosaurus is just like, because it's like he could have charged them. He could have done any. He could have killed them already, but he was like, "No, you're gonna turn around and look at me, and then I'm gonna do this, and then you're gonna get on the other side of the fence. You go, think you're safe, and then I'm coming through." Like he didn't just like go after them. Like there was thought behind it. It was premeditated. He was like, "I'm terrorizing you before I eat you," and yeah,
the dinosaur was stage presence.
Oh, absolutely. He was a whole, like, rather than in like any other than like the raptors, but as like one of the big dinosaurs, he was the only one that you anticipated him arriving more than anything. Like he was a threat when he wasn't present. Because the others, like, you'll hear the T-Rexes and everything.
Okay. That's an acceptable answer. And it's not the basic T-Rex that everyone gives. So kudos to you. All right. And last, we are civilized human beings here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. We are no longer knuckle-dragging troglodytes. So coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
For the last, 9 months, it's been tea. Generally go for an Earl Grey with a little bit of milk and sugar. I also have this really lovely tangerine tea.
Okay.
And I put a little bit of sweetener in, but I don't want to put milk in. Milk and orange, other than like a creamsicle or something, just doesn't go as well. But I'm on the road a lot. I'm a representative for an eyewear company. And so if I'm traveling, I just find that I can bring my electric kettle, and tea is just a lot easier. I do like coffee, but I can drink more tea quickly than I can coffee.
Okay. Do you do loose leaf tea, or do you like the compressed bag or the loose leaf bag tea? Because there are 3 different styles.
Generally either loose leaf bag or the bags. Like I said, I travel a lot, so it just makes it easier to not have to have as much, paraphernalia.
Not the word I expected to come out of this conversation. Okay.
Hello, my name's Alexander Gideon.
Here all night, try the veal. So The most important question: what are your thoughts on reusing a tea bag? Some people say it's sacrilege. Other people will use it till the cows come home.
With
You
Earl
will get
Grey,
hate mail no matter what you say. By the way, just
with Earl Grey, not really. I mean, there's definitely some teas that are great. We have Jobe Tea House here in Asheville. We have some of those teas that are like the flowering teas that you want to steep several times because each tea is going to be different as you do it. But with regular tea bags, you know, what I'm drinking, no, we're chucking that as soon as it's done.
For those of you who aren't watching this one, go to the video and you can watch center of the screen a young Robert Tillsley making faces at the idea of his repugnance shines through. He's like, "You heathens! I might have to leave." he might get off that aircraft carrier, go home through New Zealand, and
that reminds me. I do have a question for Rob. If I could just interject real quick, Rob. My wife and I have become obsessed with a television show called The Traders, and we've been watching them from every country. We are now on The Traders Australia, and I was just curious, when you guys have breakfast tea over there, is it English breakfast tea or some other kind?
There is a branded sort of Australian one, but for me, it is English breakfast tea all the time. Twinings.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
I drink Twinings generally as well. But also my thing with tea, it's like, you know, it's not, most of the time it's not like I'm going to enjoy a cup of tea. It is I'm getting 4 cups in me in the next 30 minutes.
So do you drink it like super hot and scald your taste buds, or do you like make a batch, let it cool off? And
I mean, that's some of where it helps with the milk. But also, like, as soon as it cools off, it's just on to the next one.
Taste it. Who needs to taste it? Chug it.
Listen, I drive 5 to 7 hours daily for my job and then have to do everything else on it. I need alertness and I need ability to do work.
So do you do a lot of audiobook listening when you're driving for work?
Yeah. A lot of audiobooks, a lot of podcasts as well. I really like I listen to a lot of the podcasts where they're basically like narrating creepypastas just because they're short. Like it's funny to get like Creepy is a really good podcast.
Have you checked out the Magnus Archives?
I haven't, but I know about them.
If you like horror podcasts that are short vignettes, it's perfect.
I listened to there was a Dead Space podcast last year's Dead Space Deep Cover, and as a huge, I mean, I've got Dead Space on my arm here. As a huge Dead Space fan, I was like so happy about that. And it was just like we got so much new like lore and like canon into it. The last book that I was listening to, the last one I listened to all the way through was the Poppy War. And I don't know if you guys have read the Poppy War, but oh man, what's the name of the city in it? Basically, like there's a part in it that is basically what Japan did to Nanking in China on page, and then walking through the streets of it. It's, you know, full fantasy. It's not, but it's like if you know the history, you very much know it's China and Japan. Like that's what it's based off of, and that is one of the hardest things to listen to read, to get through. But it's also like knowing that there is like a real history behind it here, you know, in the real world. If you felt like you had to get through it, but I started the second one and I'm like, I need a minute because God,
you gotta process, man. Gotta process.
One of the girls that had been held captive tells the main character about everything they did to her, and you're just like, I'm driving and I'm like, oh God. Like it's really hard when you get through that part, but it feels very necessary knowing that like these are real things that happened in Nanking here in our world.
Yeah, Nanking was so bad. Even the Nazi ambassador was like, "Whoa, this is a bridge too far," and he was sheltering some of the people in the embassy. When the Nazis, the literal Nazis, are like, "Hey, man, this might be. I don't know about this."
Literal Nazis are hiding people in the attic. There's a problem.
Exactly. And I we're kind of snickering at the humor of that, but legit, like the
It was
ambassador
awful.
from the Reich sheltered him because even he, knowing fully what was going on back home, thought this was too much.
Yep.
So it's intense.
And Japan still won't admit it happened.
I know. So is there any specific type of horror that you like?
Big fan of sci horror. Anything that's eldritch. I mean, it's the reason why Dead Space is like one of my favorite anythings, because it is perfect mix of like sci horror and that eldritch, just with the markers, with everything that you find out as you go through, and very much like they very much say that it's inspired by Event Horizon, inspired by Alien, which are love all of those. So yeah, I tend to like sci horror. The one thing I have out is kind of like my love letter to Dead Space. It was in the Nevermore anthology from Falstaff, where the Voldemar, the facts in the case of M. Voldemar, that actually happened, except they do it to death row inmates to study the Voldemar effect, and then things go crazy on it. But yeah, I really like that style of horror.
Okay. So that leads us into shifting this conversation. Speaking of horror, started on a podcast where we were joking that certain franchises, certain properties, be it movie, book, whatever, was a real gut punch growing up, and how we needed to inflict that suffering forward. Because if we suffered, dang, so should our kids. So like the death scene in Old Yeller, when the girl dies in A Bridge to Terabithia. Oh, I'm sorry, Garrett. Spoilers. I know the books are like 50 years old, but spoilers. I know he's going to get on me if I don't say that. But so for everyone here, this is kind of from here on out, just kind of open conversation. Like, what were the properties, the IPs that matter most to you that you want to push forward to the next generation? Don't all go at once.
Well, a big one for me. Big one for me would be the David Eddings books. That was my first fantasy series.
Absolutely. The Bulgarian and the Malorian.
Yeah, the Bulgarian and the what's the Sparrock one? The Millennium or
the Malorian.
Yeah. But when I think of a knight, like a real knight, not just the shining armor like stereotype, but like a really cool, grounded knightly character, I think of Sparhawk from that series. So I'm chomping at the bit for my son to be just another couple years older so that I can hand those to him.
Okay.
We've passed down quite a few. We forced our kids to watch quite a few things that we watched either growing up or when we were dating and stuff. I mean, my wife and I, our very first date was Toy Story. So we are massive Pixar fans, old school Pixar fans. And so, and we love, I have a daughter who's an artist, and she is fascinated with 2D animation, and Disney was the best at it, along with Don Bluth after he left. So we do a lot of animated films around our house, which has led to this really bizarre family tradition of the quote off, which is someone will find a way to insert a quote from some random film into the conversation, and then everybody else picks up on it and starts doing the next quote and the next quote, or even worse, trying to do the same quote, only better. So that's just, I live for those moments around the dinner table. We usually have a Sunday night family dinner, and you will hear a riff off from The Princess Bride, followed by The Emperor's New Groove, and then maybe a dash of Tron Legacy sprinkled on top. And so, yeah, we love that whole thing where we just quote movies.
I want to come to dinner at your house. That sounds amazing.
You should. It's fun. My two daughters get into it, man.
Funny you mentioned that, because we talked about one of the most quotable movies was the Princess Bride, which we recently did a review on. Right. Nick couldn't be here today as we were recording it because he's, they've got him working like quadruple overtime or something insane. When he told me the math, I'm like, I don't think there are that many hours in a week. What are you talking about? But so he was actually driving on the boat somewhere in the San Diego area, and there's somebody outside of their house as they pass him by. He's got a projector onto the side of their garage playing The Princess Bride today as he's floating by. And he's like, I know that scene, and he's like, he sent me a text that quoted the line from the picture that he sent me, which was kind of cool.
Fantastic.
And
There's some bizarre non-sci-fi films, non-fantasy films that became cult classics that I own on DVD that I had to introduce my kids to. And I think the top of that list is Buckaroo. Well, this is sci-fi, but Buckaroo Banzai: Adventures Across the Eighth Dimension. It is a terribly badly shot, campy as you can imagine sci-fi film. But hear me out now if you haven't seen it. Peter Weller, John Lithgow, Christopher Lloyd, the cast alone, a young Jeff Bridges, and Clancy, the Kurgan, all in the same film. And talk about a quotable movie. If you get somebody that's a fan of this film, and you're going to get quotes from this film. That's another one that's at the top of the list. But the non-fantasy one is an obscure John Cusack film called Better Off Dead. I promise you, if you walk into a room of Gen Xers and you say, man, that's a real shame when folks be throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that.
Good white boy.
You're going to get a whole bunch of friends right at that moment.
The other one is
Better Off Dead was amazing.
The other one you see that traumatized people is that one where the log comes off of the back of the truck and it goes through the car.
Final Destination.
Final Destination. I wanted to see if anyone else was going to get it just by that reference. I still will see driving down the interstate, when you see one of those log trucks, people park. Like they get the lane.
Get out of the way, man.
I have a friend who's
not today.
Not gonna.
That's what we tell the god of death. Not today.
So one of the things, Jana, you pointed out in the side chat was that obviously the joke for this episode started from the trauma of your favorite characters dying and wanting to inflict that on the next generation, but it's also more than just the trauma. Like, for instance, I grew up loving the Goonies. Like, I was a little bit of a tubby kid wearing the husky size. That's not fat, they're husky. And so, like, for me, the truffle shuffle, like I that joke was made about me a few times. I take hope from knowing that actor, by the way, is like swole as hell now, and he's like a coach and like
I saw that. I was blown away. I was like, holy crap!
But that show, like Goonies Never Die, and it's just. And then I watched it with my kids, and like, Dad, where's the parents? And I'm like, I know, isn't it great? They're on their own, no hovering parents. So are there others besides the ones that obviously traumatized us for the loss, like Old Yeller or Bridge to Terabithia? Are there other ones that are memorable to you that you want to pass on, that you think are valuable, that aren't traumatic?
Oh, The Last Unicorn.
Isn't that a tragedy?
No.
The Last Unicorn.
Yeah, that was
oh my
animated.
gosh, so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I got my daughter, the artist who's into 2D animation. I mean, that's like one of her favorite films of all time, or late 70s proto anime. And again, it goes back to a voice cast that's absolutely stellar. I mean, Jeff Bridges, Max von Sydow, Mia Sara,
Christopher Lee.
Come on, Christopher Lee, yeah, excellent film. And Alan Arkin. Schmendrick, the Runeless Wonder.
Oh, I love Schmendrick. He was like, I was very young when I first watched that movie. I still have a crush on Schmendrick. He's amazing, like, and just all the things that were touched on there, just like
with the fake wine, it's great.
I remember.
I've got.
Oh, it's amazing.
Well, and the thing is, to JR's point, it doesn't end happily ever after, but it's not a tragedy and it's not trauma-inducing, because in the end, everybody does exactly what they need to do in order to be the hero of their own story, which is the great thing, because they all end up saving each other in different ways. And so it's a really beautiful story in that way. The prince doesn't save her. Not in the way that we classically see in princess fairy tales and things like that. They save each other, and they're both willing to put forth the sacrifice that it takes that there will be unicorns in the world again, even if she will always regret. And that was part of why it was powerful, because it looked like it was following fairy tale tropes, but in the end, that's not the whole point. And so it wasn't traumatizing. It was very empowering, because it's about what does it cost to really be a hero.
But
I like
this is not just childhood IPs, though. I mean, I came very, very late to the Doctor Who bandwagon. I didn't discover it really.
I was going to bring up Who.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't discover it until really late, like when they rebooted the series with Chris Eccleston. But immediately fell in love with it, and then now I have it all on disc, and I'm forcing my kids to watch it now because I know it's cheesy. I don't care. There's good stuff here.
You're going to kick out of this. There is a used bookstore and movie store not too far from my house, and I was going through the movie collection. And obviously the Doctor Who is one of the longest continuously running sci-fi series, and so I'm like, oh, that's a lot of them, because I'm seeing all the box sets. And every time I thought I was to the end, the salesperson was like, no, but wait, there's more, and he'd like push me to the next row. It's got more of them. I'm like, does it ever end? And of course, he was a Whovian, so he was like, the beauty is it doesn't.
On within fandoms that are like that. One of mine that I watched the premiere of the first episode and all the way to the end. I gotta lift that up because I got a devil's trap right there, and that's Supernatural. I grew up with Supernatural.
My sister is a huge fan of that show. Yeah, that and Buffy.
Yeah, but Buffy's one of mine. I just absolutely grew up with, and I don't think that there is currently an equivalent.
Okay,
I think that's sort of interesting. Some of these franchises that there's not sometimes that they hit a particular zeitgeist, and maybe that's why there aren't any right now. But there just doesn't seem to be anything with a similar flavor to me.
No. Okay, but when you say Buffy, do you mean the movie or the TV show?
No, the TV series.
The TV show. The movie I quite enjoy, but I sort of view it really as a separate thing. But it's a fun comedy.
Yes, but the death scene at the end is iconic and worth seeing again and again and again.
The Paul Rubens death scene? Yeah.
My understanding is that wasn't even supposed to be in there. He was just fed up at the end of a long day, and it was just so good they kept it. But my favorite scene of all...
I mean, the price of admission was worth it just to see Paul Rubens next to Rutger Hauer.
The best part of that movie was at the end. It was like so much of encapsulating the horrors of bureaucracy. Like the vampires have attacked the school at the prom. There's dead bodies everywhere, and the principal's going around with that little sheet of paper. Detention. He's like, he's giving all the dead people detention.
Yes.
And I'm like, even death won't save you. I get it. It tracks.
As a big fan of the band Korn, you said dead bodies everywhere, and I immediately heard the dead bodies everywhere. I have one that I can give you a single name, and it's going to hit all of you, and that's Artax.
Stunning.
Have you guys ever seen any of the people that will go around that do the cosplay of Atreyu, and they just have the horse's head and they just go in different places and they're just screaming at it?
I have the song for that, the theme song, on record.
Oh,
like
nice.
Yes.
I will sing along with that when that comes up on my playlist.
And Ghostbusters.
Oh, naturally.
So let me ask you this though: for as far as the Never-Ending Story is concerned, are the sequels recognized as canon or not? The way the Highlander sequels are not recognized.
What sequels? What sequel?
Thank you. All I needed to know.
We pretend that never happened.
But there's a difference in the way that the drop off goes. Like Never-Ending Story, the second one is like, oh man, you're scratching it. It's getting a bit rough, and the third one is, oh my god, what have you done? Whereas Highlander was like, great, and immediately, what? The signal was just like this gaping cliff with spikes sticking up, ready for you to fall on. It was
okay. The television show with Adrian Paul.
Prometheus.
Awful. Hated it.
Sorry, what?
I'll watch Adrian Paul. Cute man.
Oh, you're
It
just
was
like
totally
it 'cause
worth
he's
it.
pretty. You just want to put him on your
Darn
book
straight.
covers.
I am
Yeah.
totally aware of that. And there's a lot of these properties that were watched because there were very pretty people.
And I'm gonna tell you, that's the only reason Cavill's getting any traction at all with his reboot.
Oh.
He's pretty.
I mean,
Yeah, you have issues with that, man.
did that man thirst trap putting together a gaming PC? Absolutely did.
Absolutely, he did.
Did we watch like 12 hours of him building that? Absolutely, we did.
Absolutely did.
I used to build PCs for a living, so I didn't care. But I'm not saying he's not a pretty man. I'm secure enough in my manhood, I can say that. But I'm just like, I don't care. I'd leave Highlander alone. You're never going to capture lightning in a bottle like that again, where you've got the Scotsman playing the Egyptian, and the Frenchman playing the Scotsman, and the American playing the Russian.
That's true. That was good stuff.
I'm sensing some bitterness there, Michael. Do we need to talk about this?
No, I wish I picked the wrong year to quit drinking. That's what it is.
I picked the wrong year to never start. So I can't understand it.
See, it's just like the Wiggles, right?
What are the Wiggles?
I knew I'd get that silence.
I'm familiar with the Wiggles.
I'm too old for the Wiggles era, but my eldest child went through it, and I'm just seeing this like this group of 4 guys that were, sitting there going, "Oh, okay, we're not doing so well at rock, and we're studying to be teachers. Let's make some decent music for kids." And obviously, decent, has a particular context here, but then just over time they started to shift it. And honestly, I don't really know anything about the quality of the different people coming in and out, but it's just, this is not what I saw first, damn it. And I just have this automatic, hey, who are you people? How dare you wear a red, yellow, blue, or purple top?
I will say I still have nya 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 on my playlist somewhere.
Oh, Lord.
It comes up every now and again. But because I was a dance teaching assistant, I was too old when they became popular in the US. But being a dance teaching assistant, I'm working with little kids. We use that quite a bit for the 3 and 4-year-olds. So it's just like, this is a jam. Okay, I'm into this.
My kids grew up on and have great nostalgia for a ton of PBS public broadcasting shows. They were aimed at kids. I mean, to this day, they will wax poetic about Between the Lions and Sagwa, the Siamese Chinese cat, and Dragon Tales.
Dragon Tales for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely
Wishbone.
love those. So Arthur.
Oh, Wishbone and Arthur, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Wishbone.
Arthur's amazing.
Those were fantastic.
Magic School Bus.
I've seen the new shows that have one for kids, and except for
Bus.
the one with the Krat brothers, it's not great.
Yeah, the Boobafoo.
Yeah, well, they have an animated show now because they're kind of too old to go on camera. They're a little
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
So, since you mentioned the Magic School Bus, one of the ones that I missed that isn't around anymore, but you can watch the reruns, is the Reading Rainbow. And
Oh,
that-
yeah.
You hear that theme song in your head.
Yes.
I definitely have ones like that. In Australia, we had a thing called Skippy the Bush Kangaroo, which was essentially Lassie, but a kangaroo. And so you'd get these brilliant scenes of this, oh no, someone's fallen down the well, sort of stuff. And occasionally, there'd be this claw from a kangaroo, obviously some long dead kangaroo that's on camera as it's doing so. That's Skippy doing it.
Nice.
That's probably a franchise I don't want to pass down, but it's what made us who we are today. Damn it!
We had Flipper too. Did that make it over there? The dolphin.
Oh yeah, we had Flipper.
Flipper.
Oh my god, no!
All I'm saying is those '80s Navy dive shorts that he was wearing. They were like basically Daisy Dukes for dudes, the tan khaki material. They were not doing
scary.
Oh,
I know.
I
Teri's like,
grew up
ooh, I liked that.
We had a brand called Stubbies of shorts that everyone from footballers to to little kids like me wore, and they were so far up. It was like the opposite of arseless chaps. They were just these tiny little ones.
Well, that
All
might
right,
be a
well-
good segue to back up a little bit. Another movie that was
Hold
really
on.
influential for me
Call
was
them tavern crawlers.
Pause
heard a hold on.
because I realized we didn't do the commercial because we got so into the conversation. So we're going to pause for a moment while we shamelessly shill for the woman.
In a world where magic is controlled by law and government, mages are both coddled and persecuted. Corey Monroe knows she isn't a mage, and her best friend is. Reality isn't always what you know. If you are looking for an urban fantasy with found family, an education-based magic system, and evolving storylines, try My Luck by Mel Todd, book 1 in the Twisted Luck series. Available exclusively on Amazon.
All right. Thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. And now we're back to that rudely interrupted segue that we were going to get from the lovely Miss Teri about insert now.
Yeah, speaking of interesting pants, The Labyrinth was a good one that
Yeah.
I watched.
Oh, love it. David
Yes.
Bowie.
Uh-huh.
I was wondering when the
Yeah.
ladies would bring that into the story.
I hadn't seen
You're
that.
welcome.
I didn't see it when it was new, and just somehow kept missing out on watching it. And then it showed up on, I think, Netflix, if you had the Netflix premium account, which one of my daughters does. So we all sat around and watched it, and I'd heard so much stuff and all this stuff, and it was so great, and it was awesome. And I love Muppets because, dude, I'm a huge Muppet fanatic. I love the Muppets. Not that crappy Office mockumentary TV show they tried to do later. Talking the classic Muppets. But we watched Labyrinth, and my daughters and I were all just kind of like, that's it.
Wow, and I
Yeah,
loved it,
yeah.
and not just for Jennifer Connelly.
And before there were the Muppets, there was Fraggle Rock.
Yes. I've got the entire series.
That was not before the Muppets, but there was Fraggle Rock.
Well, I mean, it was.
The
Yeah,
Muppets,
it was,
the Muppet Show was a lot earlier. It was in the 70s.
Mhm.
Yeah. and that was.
But the
great.
Muppets in general, it is a huge thing. The different versions of the Muppets, you had animated, you had the actual puppets, you had them in different shows, you had them in different movies. The Muppets are a huge cultural touchstone.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, there
One
was
of
a
my favorite
Muppet
memes
Buffy the
ever.
Vampire Slayer episode.
Wait, what?
Oh no, it wasn't Buffy.
It
was
was on Angel.
Angel.
It was great.
I love that.
Angel the Muppet was amazeballs.
Yes.
And then, of course, if you're old enough, you remember all
Okay.
the Saturday morning cartoons where, you would be eating your cereal bowl and your jammies in front of the TV and being very quiet. so
3
you don't wake your
inches
parents up.
in front of the TV.
Yeah.
Attic popping in
Yeah.
your mouth.
So JR, you're reminding me of Scooby Doo, but I feel bad about passing that one down now because it went from working out who was actually behind it to it's just magic, and like
Yeah, now the
I love
monsters
my
are real.
magic, but
I didn't
that
like
was
that
not
change.
Scooby Doo.
No.
Go ahead, Justin.
Well, I was gonna say if I'm gonna pass down, I'm not gonna pass down Scooby Doo. I'm gonna be real. What I am gonna pass down is Scooby Doo's spiritual successor, which was Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Absolutely.
Never heard of it.
God, so many of my vocal stems
Oh.
from Courage the Cowardly Dog, and they're random ones like the episode with the Duck Brothers.
Yep.
For some reason, in that episode, you had this like, and then out of nowhere, you just like number 8. That, like it'll run through my head. But then also
My favorite-
Duck Brothers. We're not supposed to lay eggs.
My favorite episode to this day is still Return the
The
Slab.
King Ramses, the man in gauze.
The man in gauze.
What's your offer?
This is a seasonal one, and maybe we ought to come back and do a seasonal franchises that matter to us. But the iconic "You'll Shoot Your Eye Out" from A Christmas Story,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and the understanding that most of our cuss words were learned holding the flashlight for our dad,
Right.
like
Or handing
Or
him
being
the
told to
wrong
reach
size
into the
wrench.
dryer. That was an
Yes.
amazing experience.
and the fragile, it's French.
It's Italian.
Which they paid homage to, and was it Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, where he's kicking the box down the hallway when he was doing like some undercover work, and he's like, "Fragile, it's French."
I mean, listen, Ace Ventura 2, I watched that movie so much as a kid. Just the
Yep.
Chicago. He quit to watch ya.
God, you're making me feel old.
Why does that make you feel old?
I grew up on things like Count Duckula, which I don't know.
Yes,
I
I like Count Duckula.
Things
Let
like
me
that,
ask
and
you this,
Gremlins, and
Speaking of another bizarre film out of left field that probably nobody but me has seen. Anybody else here a fan of Six String Samurai?
Never heard of it.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
intrigued.
already
It's kind of amazing. It's set in a post-apocalyptic future where China and Russia have troops running around the Nevada desert, and Elvis is the king of Las Vegas. He never died.
Well, everyone knows he didn't die. He just went home.
And then he finally does die, and they need a new king in Vegas. So musicians from all over the world are on this trek to Vegas to be crowned the next king. And it's a lot of nutty mayhem.
I love this.
I'm 100%. Yeah,
Sold.
I'm in.
Kings and Russian soldiers and a group called the Red Elvises making appearances.
Oh, I love it.
All
It's
right.
a rockabilly adventure like you've never seen.
Does anybody else remember Elf? When we were talking
oh
about
yeah,
it earlier.
absolutely, yes.
Yep,
And his
yep,
appetite
Ella.
for cats.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh,
I
Alf.
used-
I thought you said elf, and I was like,
Oh yeah,
I was
okay,
like,
Alf. Yeah.
Alf. Yeah.
Not
that's
Elf.
what I
I
said.
couldn't do Elf.
Alien life form.
Yes.
Mhm.
ALF. Alf. That's what I said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
I tried
God.
to get my kids to watch that one. They weren't receptive.
What about Mork and Mindy then? If you like the alien life forms.
Well, my kids will watch anything.
Mork
that
and
Robin
Mindy was
Williams is in,
hysterical.
yeah.
Yeah,
And,
that's a
Nanu.
Robin Williams in general is something that needs to be passed on.
Yeah, when you
Yes.
realize he didn't like follow the script, and so when they looked befuddled, they weren't acting; they really were. They're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say now.
Oh, the best thing was the way he would work foreign curse words into whatever he was doing. They had to hire a censor for NBC at the time that spoke, I think, 6 different languages because they kept catching him inserting foreign curse words into his that he was doing. They're like, can't say that.
I
That's
actually
great.
like
I
him
love it.
even more now that I know that.
I
I
figured
have
that
made
would
my
work for you.
eldest watch the Golden Girls. So
Oh
similar,
my
I think
God.
that's similar
Fun.
era to Alf. So
Betty
Yeah,
White.
the Golden Girls. The funny part is you realize the older one, the mother that's supposed to be the oldest, was the youngest
The
of the
youngest.
set.
I guess it's bizarre, isn't
Yeah.
it?
And if you look
Sophia.
at her, if you look at her when she was younger, oh my goodness, she was a smoke show.
Golden Girls is one of those that it's like if you are talking to someone and like you mention that and they're like, I don't like Golden Girls, you're like, all right, cool. This relationship is over. That is the biggest red flag you could have handed me.
The biggest one is the show that created every single conspiracy theorist I know, Murder, She Wrote. I mean, come on, tell me.
Oh,
Angela Lansbury was the killer. I mean, she
I
shows up
just
to town
watched-
and suddenly there's a murder every week. Come on.
Oh
I
man,
watched an
Yeah.
episode in the cinema recently as part of a big festival that happens here in Adelaide. And there's a guy, he travels around the world running these things and talks you through the backstory of the actors and things like that. And one of the things I didn't realize was that the people that did Murder, She Wrote did another series before. And it started really suffering because people began to work out that the murderer was whoever was the most famous guest star that episode.
Yeah, there's
Of
that.
course.
nice.
That tracks.
Something that I definitely on a completely like different note of these. We did lose him. There he went.
Oh no.
yeah.
Something on a completely different note that I will absolutely be passing down. And honestly, we're gonna go from the beginning, and that is Dragon Ball. And
Oh,
we're
there
gonna
we go.
From beginning of Dragon Ball, like Goku's gonna come down as a kid he's
Yep.
gonna Superman down because that's exactly what happened. But also it's mostly because Akira Toriyama Sensei is one like goals. I mean, when he passed away in Madrid, 20,000 people gathered to like collectively do like the spirit bomb from the thing. And I'm like, listen, that is a certain kind of touch people's lives that we all want to aspire to. And it was just like, And it was hard to like not like hear about these and not be like super emotional on it, because it's like, you know, I grew up with the not the original, because honestly, like the version that I grew up with, the music that they had makes listening to the original version's music so hard, because it's so much like not as good. I mean, like we got the Cell music that was not in the original, but it was that, like, it's still in my head, that like, and it was just like so perfect every time he was on. But yeah, that's definitely one where it's like, we gotta watch Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and then Dragon Ball Z Abridged, because God, Abridged is good.
You want to talk about quotable? If you watch,
God, yes.
If you watch Dragon Ball Z at all, you have to watch DBZ Abridged, because it is a pure comedy version, quick dub of the show, and it's
absolutely
it's quote after quote after quote. Just is fantastic.
Vegeta and the Cell side, like my favorite is like when he feels Cell for the first time. He's like, "Is that me? Is that me stronger than me? Kill me!"
You know,
all that
another
stuff's
good
too
one
young
that's,
for me.
it's definitely a moment in time, because it caused so much concern for quote for safety of information, was the Teddy Ruxpin, because it was a cartoon doll, and Teddy Ruxpin could record, so you could record into it, and then it would repeat it back to you. And then it would respond, and there was like, some of it was pre-recorded, but you could also load your own voices, and so people were like, "Oh, that doll's going to spy on us, and you know, it's going to be the Russians, and they're going to track everything by tricking kids with Teddy Ruxpin."
Robin Williams.
These days, you turn on Alexa, and away you go, getting recorded with everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. We
Robin
tell them
Williams had a
everything,
bit about
so.
Teddy. He said Teddy Ruxpin's the kind of toy that wakes up in the middle of the night and goes, "You must kill Mommy and Daddy." With Teddy Ruxpin.
But with animated things, I grew up on like Robotech / Macross / whatever they shoved in to make it happen.
Yes.
And Astro Boy, Star Blazers, Battle for Planets. All this stuff, when, you know, like one frame would hold on screen for about 10 seconds, because
forget
they were
Harlock.
desperately trying to save it. And that's, I struggle with a lot of anime sort of stuff these days, just because like it's different now, but the styling really relies on that. You know, it comes from a saving of effort approach, and I know the stories are huge and classic and amazing, but I just look at it, it just reminds me of sitting there going, man, how long are they going to leave that one frame on screen for?
On that point, I have an anime for you to watch. You need
What
to
is
watch
that?
Solo
Hold on, let me
Leveling.
put you up solo screen. Give me just a second.
You need to watch Solo Leveling.
Solo Leveling, is that like literally one frame for the entire thing?
It is some of the most amazing animation I have seen in a long time in a series. Like, if you watch anime movies, like, those are definitely like where you get your amazing animation, like, it's really put into it. A lot of times series, like, that'll be some of the things where it's like they don't necessarily get the budget to do it, and so like some that'll like use too much CGI and everything. But like we actually went through like one of the last episodes of season 2 of Solo Leveling, and someone found that in one of the last fights that is just incredible. Like, you're just watching this like, holy crap, how did y'all animate this? But he in like one of a turn, literally someone made one of the panels where half of like Jinu's pants like come halfway down, and you just get like a little bit of crack. But like for a single like flash of a panel, to which everyone went, "Hey OP, how'd you find that? Did you just pick that up out of it?" But like, it's phenomenal. It has been one of the it has in 2 seasons surpassed on Crunchyroll, surpassed all of the likes for that One Piece has ever had, and One Piece is over 1,000 episodes. It made me feel like I was a kid watching Dragon Ball Z again. And I read the manhwa several years ago. I even have, it's actually, I think this is really cool. Solo Leveling is actually originally a novel series. It's a Korean novel series that got a webcomic and has now gotten the anime. But phenomenal. Gino is total badass through the whole thing. Jesse's heard me talk a lot about solo leveling. I've been geeking out about solo leveling for a while, but it's just, I also love that it has one of the, like, to me, one of the most egregious fan service scenes, but it's not one of the women. It is Gino, and he's mining, and there's a shot of him, and he's, mining, and it's from behind, and they did not have to animate every one of his back muscles, but they did. And I mean, did that scene last for 15 minutes? Maybe. But yeah,
I feel they're making up for all of the missed frames from decades before.
Right?
This one's not anime, and it is tech based. So we I call it speculative fiction. But if any of you remember classic MacGyver from the 80s, dude, mullet or bust. I might have had a mullet in the 80s and 90s because of that man. Although pictorial proof does not exist, I found all my mother's pictures and burned them. But I'm just saying.
Oh, rude.
That mean he got people to think outside of the box with all of his creative solutions to every problem.
Mm-hmm.
And all the jokes about what you got bubble gum, a Twizzler, and a thermometer. Of course, we can save the building.
Quick, let's build a nuclear reactor.
That was literally what I thought. I was like, and with this, we make a thermonuclear reactor.
The reboot. I'm not normally as anti-reboot as some of the fandom of various properties, but in this case, the reboot just did not have it.
No,
but
it was
the
bad.
Inspiration for MacGyver was, right?
No, I do not.
The professor from Gilligan's Island.
Really?
Island. Mm-hmm.
Think about it, man. That dude can make anything out of coconuts. Anything.
Which Gilligan's Island is a pretty decent property too. My daughter has watched that, and for all that she's 12, and it's very, very old to her, she looks at it and she does giggle a lot. There's just fun things with yes, we are going to make everything out of coconuts, and we are going to have the same problem all the time, but in a funny way. So
we got all these
that was a
trees
decent
down, but we can't patch a hole in the side of a wooden boat.
Nope. Different kind of wood.
Think about it too hard. But here's one IP that we have.
Well, hold on. Before we move on, I will say you can judge a man by who he likes in Gilligan's Island. Is it Ginger or Marianne? You asked them that question.
Marianne was a girl.
Absolutely. But I'm just saying you can judge a character that way. You're like, oh.
Dawn Wells, the actress that played Marianne, was the only person that signed up in her contract. She took a lower salary, but signed up for residuals. Nobody else believed the show would be around long enough to go into syndication. And she died a fairly wealthy woman because that show is still on the air.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the millennial version of You Can Judge a Man by the Choice is Starfire or Raven.
Yeah.
And you're like, tells you a lot about who you choose.
Or on Skyrim, do they side with the Imperials or the Nords?
See, that one's hard because it's like, do you side with the Roman Empire or the Confederate South?
No, it's the Vikings. They're the Vikings. They're like mountain Vikings.
No, not with the all the racism that the Nords throw around. Like,
they just like to practice their religion in peace with pieces of their sacrificial humans.
Or sacrificial Dunmer.
We got to have a Sky or Elder Scrolls. We'll have to have you back, and we can argue this point because I'm just saying. At least the Imperials, they built good roads. Their roads, their caravans were always on time.
Yeah, but the Aldmeri Dominion is definitely taking over, so it's just the High Elves, and who wants to have the High Elves in control? But also, the Nords are all extremely racist.
But they're Vikings.
It is funny when you go back and look at some of the older shows. You go, "Oh, I'd like to pass that down." There's a British show called Allo Allo, which is set during World War II in a French village. And like the cafe owner, who's the star of the show, is like an absolute womanizer. Half his staff are prostitutes. And this was and all the jokes are raunchy as, and this was essentially a family show, and I absolutely love it. I've shown it to my eldest as well, but he's sitting going, have we become prudes? I sort of think we have. And it's like sometimes like, oh, that's a bit rough. And it's like, oh man, that was a bit rough on this group of people, that group of people, and then it's sort of like, actually, you are making fun of everyone, including like the dumbest character in this British show is a Brit pretending to be a French policeman.
If I'm going British television, for me, it's Blackadder.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Although I will say I have watched the British version of Law and Order. It's all that you loved about Law and Order, but with wigs.
But does it done? If it doesn't done, it doesn't count. Okay, all right, we're good then.
It done's, but it's Big Ben.
It's
Bong bongs.
So
what about if you're going to do British
stuff.
shows? What about that longest show? I think it was the longest running show on British television history. Was The Last of the Summer Wine.
Don't know.
Nobody ever saw the last of the. Oh my gosh!
I don't watch a lot of British TV.
I mean,
Wow.
The Bill seems to go on forever. That police one, but that's probably gone now.
Yeah. Oh, this show.
Are You
was
Being
on,
Served
it
is
had
pretty good.
something upwards. It
My God,
started
yes.
around the same time as that, but I can't remember the guy's name, but he was Captain Peacock on Are You Being Served? He was eventually on The Last of the Summer Wine. The guy that did the voice of Wallace and Gromit was on it, and it was just go look it up. It ran for something like 30 seasons.
Wow.
Like 30,
Wow.
and this is not like how Americans measure TV, where you can have multiple seasons in 1 year. No, this was annual seasons, and it was like this show ran for like 30 years.
Yes, Robert. We have seen History of the World. The some of the most iconic, like when he's on
Mel
the Roman
Brooks.
chariot with the giant blunt.
Yeah.
It's good to be king.
I'm so excited for my son to hit the teenage years when it's okay for me to really open up on the things that because when I got old enough, all my entertainment moved to adult entertainment, and I'm old enough now that it's hard to remember the kid stuff sometimes, but it's the second when we're recording this, but we just lost Val Kilmer on April Fool's Day. I cannot wait for my son to see Tombstone.
I thought that was an April Fool's joke when I first saw that.
Or a real genius.
Yesterday.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's a big one for me is stuff like that. Blazing Saddles, History of the World Part 1. And you were talking about have we gone soft? I think the rest of the world might have, but I'm not. I mean, it's gotta be. I had to look at him for Princess Mononoke, which is a classic animated film. It came back to theaters, and it was like it's never going to show again. Like I have no guarantee that he's ever going to be able to see this again. But he's 9, and there's a lot of violence and creepy scenes with demon curses and stuff like that. And so I had to look at him and be like, "Hey, buddy, this is one of my favorite movies ever. And I want you to see it, but I need you to buckle up and know, this is just a movie. It's just a movie. It's not real. It's okay." Because I took him to see the last Jurassic Park in theaters, and when Blue got hit by a truck, my little guy lost it. I mean, it was just so we had to have that conversation of okay, buddy, bad things are going to happen on screen. It's just a story. And I was like, can you handle it? And he's like, yeah. And it's funny because my fiance had never seen it either. So they were both literally crying in the movie theater when it was done.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Studio Ghibli, one of the ones that was big for me was Howl's Moving Castle. That came out when I was right in that preteen zone. It's
Diana Wynne Jones.
Uh-huh. See, I tried to read the book and it just
great.
didn't grab me for some reason. I tried.
Oh,
She
Teri, I
did
thought we were
a book
friends.
called The Power of
sorry.
Three,
Don't hit me.
which is fantastic.
The Power of 3.
Yeah, Diana Wynne Jones's kids book.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Ranger's Apprentice series. Love those.
I love those too.
I read
Yeah,
those
see,
out
again,
loud
that's
to
my
sons.
children, not me.
Well, I mean, I read those out loud to my sons because, as a former voice actor, I can do all these different characters. So, and it was a protagonist about their age. So, they really enjoyed that. And I did the Redwall series too at one point. So yeah,
Or Red
I
Balls
love
also.
reading those.
The Last Apprentice by Joseph Delaney was another good book series. That gets dark. I never finished it. I stopped about
Haven't
book
heard that one.
7, I think. It's good. It's set in like, I don't know if it's proper like England or United Kingdom, but it has that feel to it. And it's just this spook, as he's called, going and dealing with ghosts and ghouls and witches and all these crazy things. And it's his apprentice learning all this stuff, where a lot of previous apprentices have died, either by being stupid or being overwhelmed by bad shit, bad things.
It had some interesting stuff, like the mechanics of how they dealt with these spirits and dealt with the witches. It did seem like, I don't know, like he didn't like women or something with the way that he dealt with the witches. But it was, yeah, I definitely read several of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this book was jaded. I got to the one where we explored his backstory a little bit, and a bit of his love life. It's like, oh, that explains a lot.
A really good young adult series.
Other classic book series. Oh, good.
A really good young adult series is the Pendragon series. It's 10 books. It's phenomenal.
Who's the author? Because I remember there being, like, from way back, a Pendragon thing that was...
It's DJ McHale. This is book 2. I think this is book... No, this is book 2 that I have here. It's actually a first edition too. Look at that. Didn't realize that.
So if we want to go for some of the more, grown-up targeted audience, if you remember Knight Rider and the A-Team is some of the best action on TV. I used to want that car kit. I wanted one growing up, and I was disappointed to find out my car could not talk to me.
I can now.
No.
But now I can. And that doesn't sound good.
That's terrifying. I'm sorry.
Still not as good as Kit.
No. And David Hasselhoff is, he's pretty popular in Germany.
Yeah.
And so when one of my books was like #1 in Germany ahead of something that he had done, I was like, I'm more popular than David Hasselhoff.
Hey,
Nice.
don't
There's
hassle
a
the
pink
Hoff.
thing.
No, I actually screen grabbed that one because if it never happened again, I could die a happy man.
I mean, the
My
best thing.
kids, one of the animated shows my kids will pass on to their kids, I think, is a show called Class of the Titans.
I have never heard of this one.
It was great. It was Greek mythology in the modern world. You had kids who were like either demigods or straight up offspring of the gods, and they go to a special academy together. It's very Percy Jackson in that respect.
I was like, you're
yes,
describing
that's
Percy Jackson.
Yeah, but Kronos was always creeping around trying to cause trouble, and he was like the main villain of the show, the reoccurring villain, and he would bring other baddies in every week. And but it was a cool show though. I enjoyed it.
Did you guys? You might be too young for it, but there's a series called The Mysterious Cities of Gold. That was it was actually a French-Japanese co-production where it had sort of characters go from Spain to the Americas, and they had a cool sort of like ship that was automated and could fire sort of lasers, and a golden condor that could fly. You're sitting there going, I don't think the maths works. But no, you're American, and I've seen this. It's going to the Americas. Oh man, you guys have missed out on 7 series of really fantastic kids shows. I actually bought the DVD set because yes, I did pass it down to the next generation.
Excellent.
As you should.
Yep. I watched that one and Thunder the Barbarian.
Thunder! I got that on Blu-ray.
Does anybody remember
Going really far back.
The 80s show?
Yeah.
Yes.
With the aliens coming down.
The
I
reboot
Lizard
was
aliens.
and I didn't have a problem with it, but they never gave us an ending because it went to Fox Entertainment where good shows go to die. Yes, I'm so bitter.
I just remember this one scene where they're being held in what looked like showers or sort of cubicle prison things, and they're all naked. And I was probably about 12, so really stuck in my head for some reason. I don't know why.
So you mentioned, did we just become softer? And it just reminds me of a funny story. There was a show that was coming on, and I was like, oh, it's rated R, but it's like 1990s or 1980s rated R. We're good. And I hit play, and it was basically like softcore. You fill in the blank on that word. And like, I'm trying to simultaneously turn the Xbox, because I was watching Amazon through the Xbox, turn it off while I turn the TV off and cover the kids' eyes, because it was like boobs everywhere. And I'm like, I don't remember the 80s like this.
Oh my god! So I think someone might have mentioned the Goodies earlier, or maybe they didn't, and it's just me. It was a British comedy show. The Goodies,
not Goonies.
And like going back and watching it, it's like there's women running around in underwear, and I was saying, "Oh, okay, I did not notice this when I was 7 or 8 watching this."
Or maybe it was cut out for TV, like we didn't see those scenes.
I just think that there was what was considered comedy and what is considered acceptable comedy. Certainly, maybe it's changing a bit now, but back in when things shifted into the 90s and 2000s, I do think that people became a lot more straight-laced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you would never get All in the Family or the Jeffersons made today.
I love it's the big one, Elizabeth.
Oh, Fred Sanford. That was Sanford and Son. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's just another one you couldn't get made today.
You couldn't get that one made today either. Yeah.
Does anybody remember the Tales from the Crypt or the Twilight Zone from back?
Yeah,
Tales from the Crypt. Yes.
Oh yeah.
No, wait. Do you mean the original Twilight Zone or the reboot or the film?
I have seen a lot of them. I'm just a huge Hitchcock fan, all the way to the black and whites. So I liked all of them. I don't think any one of them was better than the other. They were just all different.
My daughter Sarah really got into Hitchcock for a while, so we had like the classic Hitchcock collection on DVD and just went through all of them. So that was neat.
Time well spent.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna say I still look at people sometimes and go, "Good evening," and just try to figure out if anybody actually gets it, which is it's very rare that people do.
Good evening.
Okay. Are there other shows that are iconic to you in Australia land, if it's real, Robert, that are nostalgic for you?
So we had this weird thing so we used to get a lot of British TV, and then sort of over time it sort of shifted to the US, but we had some of our own sort of terrible things. My Secret Valley, where it was a whole bunch of kids, at a summer camp in the in random hills somewhere, and there are comically bad guys that constantly are trying to do evil things. The kids manage to get in the way every time. Those sort of things. There's a show called Bananas in Pajamas.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Oh boy,
Bananas in Pajamas. And that probably says enough. But
you can stop there.
British things, we got so many good British shows that came through. Things like The Goodies, that were just I think those for me are sort of oddly more have more impact than what what I have now. The Tripod series. There's a novel, a book series by John Christopher called The Tripods, where the people, once they pass puberty, they get these little sort of wire meshes installed in the back of their scalps, and that sort of makes them good citizens as such. And as it goes on, it becomes clear that it's actually there's been a successful alien invasion, and the bulk of the population is actually being controlled through these. The British show, sadly, they only did a couple of seasons of it. They didn't manage to get to the end of the book series, but absolutely fantastic. Obviously, we've already talked about Doctor Who. I mean, you can't go past all of that bubble wrap and not be impressed.
Did you have Monty Python?
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to close on, because I realized we're at an hour and 20 minutes. So I thought for me, we go back in my family to Monty Python, because we quote lines from all the versions of that. "'Tis but a flesh wound" gets said at least once every time I did martial arts or rugby, because there are when I was playing rugby in college, I had the rugby. So you have to have a certain number of actual numbered jerseys to match your position. If you got to the point where none of them matched up, you get there's like an arbitrary line where the collegiate division requires you to replace your shirts. And because I kept getting so much blood on me, either mine or the other guys playing rugby, we ended up my senior year getting a new set of uniforms for the classes that came after us. And every time I would get hit and blood would like pour out of my nose or mouth, I'd be like, "It's but a flesh wound," because it's like. And of course, biggest dickus
Every
is the
time.
most hilarious take home. I cannot keep a straight face for that one. My drill sergeant, when I was at Fort Benning, John Wayne School for Boys back in the late 19th century. But when I was there in 98, he would get in my face smelling of coffee and onions. I don't know why that mixed, but that's what he smelled like. And he would quote the biggest dickus lines. And we were supposed to be able to keep a straight face. Nope, I did push-ups a lot because that would never happen. I might actually say you're a robot person if you can keep a straight face for those.
I discovered Monty Python because they would play the original sketch comedy show, Monty Python's Flying Circus, on CBS late night. And so I got to see all the silly walks, the argument clinic, the dead parrot sketch,
the dead parrot,
laughing dance,
the lumberjack song,
the lodge.
So
I think it's very quotable.
Yeah, and I think my favorite Monty Python film would probably, I know everybody loves The Holy Grail, but I loved Yellowbeard. Yellowbeard was just the best.
I have not seen. Oh my god, I haven't seen that for so long.
Oh, it's so good. I love Graham Chapman. Was just underrated as far as his comedy skills were concerned. Everybody focused on Palin and Cleese, and not without good reason. But I think Graham Chapman was just absolutely hilarious.
So, does anybody else see coconuts and instantly think of horse clip clopping?
Yep.
Because of that song?
All the time.
Oh yeah, that's what you do with coconut.
Yeah, and then the other
but
one
in
is
that
the
same kind of humor.
I was say the other Mighty Python besides your mother smells like elderberries. Your father was a hamster, whatever. I'm butchering the quote, but the other
mother
one
was a hamster.
Yeah, the other one that's famous is nobody elected you, and he pulls the sword from the lake, and the peasant person says a horrible way to make a government line. I'm butchering the quote, but
watery tots.
Help! I'm being repressed.
I'm being oppressed.
Look, if I went around saying I was an emperor because some moistened fink had lobbed the scimitar at me, they'd lock me away.
Jana, you had closing thoughts?
Just on that same kind of line of humor, Carol Burnett.
Oh yeah,
the Carol Burnett shows were hysterical. The Elephant Skit, Dick Van Dyke in his heyday. There was again a lot of things that they did that you listen to now and you're like, it's innocent and yet it's totally not. And some of those things they could not say on public television now.
Any sketch with Harvey Korman and Tim Conway in the same room.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. They just and they cracked themselves up so hard that watching them to see if they could make each other break was totally worth the price of admission.
I mean, even off the show, have you ever seen the Oscar acceptance speech that Harvey Korman gave?
Yes.
With Tim Conway just kind of nuzzling up to his shoulder. So hilarious.
All right,
Conway,
so
this is hysterical.
This is the dangerous type of episode because it's nostalgic and we'll just keep going. So we're going to have to arbitrarily end it here. We will do future episodes where we can wax poetic about all the things we loved and lost in fiction. Because, I didn't even start the witch hunt scene, which is someone from the East Coast who grew up reading about Salem. She turned me into a newt. I recovered.
I'm newt.
All right, so we're going to go around and I'm going to give everyone a chance to tell me what they're working on now, if they're working on anything special, and then how listeners and readers and viewers can hunt them. Track them down on the interwebs. So, Jana, what are you working on now, and then how can we find you?
Oh, what am I working on now? Well, hopefully we will be very closing on the end of the reboot first book, Doorway to the Divine, which is a military lit RPG. Which JR and I are writing, and it is coming along, and we're having a really, really good time at it. So that should be going on. I have a second book in an urban fantasy series that's nearly done. I have a very squishy billionaire romance that is coming right along as well. So there's a bunch of things in the pipe, and all of them starting to hit the end point all about the same time. So then I'll just be figuring out my publication dates, and away we go.
So this just occurred to me.
And you can find me at opalkingdompress.com.
No,
Yes.
absolutely. OpalKingdomPress.com. As we're sitting here, I realized we didn't talk about Hercules or Xena, Warrior Princess, and that made me think, we really should make Kenna more like Xena. I'm just saying. That female archer chick. We could turn her into Xena. We could make her a Warrior Princess.
No.
Flips off the cliff to get into the boat.
Like we could even make her character description Lucy Lawless instead. I'm just saying we could think about it. All right, hear me out. Think about it.
No.
How do you carry that war cry over into a book, though?
There's a lot of vowels involved. Our audiobook narrator's already gonna want to kill us.
Yeah, well, it's set in Celtic fantasy world, so all of the Gaelic in there, they're already going to be cussing at us. But hey, maybe they'll cuss at us in Gaelic by the time we're done. So,
woo!
All right, Teri, what are you working on now? And then how can we stalk you on the wild interwebs? Assuming that you're not busy rowing to Australia.
Boy, my arms are tired. I just, I'm on the downhill side of a couple narration projects, so those are coming to a close. Also getting into the last editing stages on a full-length book, so hopefully that goes well soon. Usually I'm most commonly found on the Book of Faces. Or hiding under a rock. So start picking up rocks. Either you'll find an elf stone or you'll find me, one of the two.
Or you'll find Patrick.
Oh, yeah. That too. Yep. Mm-hmm. Forgot about that.
All right. I've got kids of the right age. Robert, what are you working on and how can we stalk you?
So I'd say, first of all, just if people are feeling a bit of nostalgia for Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Ghostbusters, my Susie Steele adventures, the Steel Trap and the Steel Bite, perfect. They're aimed for kids, especially girls around 9 to 13. Apart from that, I am working on an urban fantasy set in a hotel that isn't quite cozy because they end up burning bodies in the boiler and things like that. So I don't know what genre it is. It's a thing. I'm just about to pass 100,000 words in it. So yeah, and apart from that, you can find me pretty much anywhere. Just remember there are 3 L's in Tillsley, because that's how fancy I am. And yeah, just say hi if you see me on socials.
And if he's with his favorite kangaroo, just smile and wave. Skippy gets a little jealous of him, so
smile and wave, boys.
Smile
and wave.
You quote that one a lot in the Handley household as well. So Jesse, what are you working on now, and then how can we stalk you on the interwebs?
I am working on edits for my own, I guess, IP or world. It's called The Holy Diver in the Midnight Sea. It's basically if Shadowrun and Sliders got put together, is the easiest way I can explain that. So I'm editing the first anthology that's going to be set in that world. I'm also working on the first novel, which is titled Gravesinger. So that'll be the first tale of the Midnight Sea in full novel form. That's going to take me the next forever. So the next 55,000 times you see me, I will probably have that same answer. And then as far as where you can find me at outlawauthor.com. That will get you to everything else. It will get you to Substack, to X, to Instagram. You're welcome to add me on my personal Facebook, but that is an unedited personal page. That is me. That's heavy metal, guns, tattoos, and a lot of foul language. So, if that's not your thing, don't show up.
So what he's saying is you've been warned.
Also, don't read his books if that's not your thing.
Well, you're not wrong.
All right. Next, we have Mr. Alexander Gideon.
So I am currently working on book 3 of my main series. This is the Books of the Lost series. This was the second book, A Hammer of Witches. Aleister Crowley is our main character. We loosely follow his life. So the wickedest man in the world. Just took the magic of his life, made it a little bit more tangible, and his life a little more believable. You can follow me on TikTok at Pan Librarian Wizard, and I actually do a series of videos that is about Aleister Crowley's actual life. And yeah, it's stranger than fiction, but I'm really excited about that one. The next book is With Strange Aeons, and it's got a little bit of something for everyone. The thing is, the best first line I've ever written. Jesse's heard it, and I love the beginning of it. It's got a little bit of something for everybody. I mean, Eric of Phantom of the Opera fame is going to show up. We have Zhongxi in China. We're in the Nameless City dealing with Nyarlathotep. There's a little something for everyone in this next one.
Okay, my favorite opening line for a book was the building burned down, and this time it wasn't my fault. I want to say it was quote, but
I mean, I can give you the first line. I know it off the top of my head if you want.
Oh, go for it.
Agony perched upon the ruins of Elaine Simpson's family home, its hands black with ash where it gripped the charred remains.
Okay.
One of my favorite I've ever written.
So last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Michael LaVoice.
Sorry, I've got a dog terrified of thunderstorms trying to inch his way out from under the desk. I
can hear that panting, that thunder pant.
He went under my legs this time and is like lifting me out of my friggin' chair. Anyway, okay. I'm actually still working on Sarcom with Peter Stanley, my favorite Kiwi. And but I got a note the other day from another author friend of mine who's putting together an anthology, and asked if I wanted to contribute a space opera story. So I have returned to the world of Galaxy's Most Wanted, and I am working on a short story featuring Kai Fletcher and Naruz, everybody's favorite heavy metal fan alien, and the BattleBots. So it's kind of a lot of fun. Jumping back into that universe for ever so brief a moment. And you can track me down if you want to, bring friends, but you can track me down at michaellavoice.com. It's got all the appropriate linkage. Don't forget that Gladius Leagues books 1 and 2 are out, and book 3 should be out by the end of April.
All right, so this is the part, dear listener, where I remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right book, so do your part. It really does matter. And we had talked in the past about doing some sort of shared screen where part of the experience for the supporters is you could see what happens in the side chat, but we did a little bit of investigating, and apparently the American Parental Advisory Committee has said we are not fit for public consumption. So yeah, they're not going to tell you what is going on in the side chat, but just pretend it's unicorns and rainbows because we're civilized and stuff.
Who's we?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to pretend, okay, James? Jesse James, outlaw author.
I'm a unicorn.
I tried to do the Bond, James Bond, by going to, the outlaw Jesse James, like doing it, but it didn't sound as cool as James Bond. So I'll do better next time. And with that, you can follow us on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast, where we link to all the things: the BitChutes, the Rumbles, the YouTubes, the TikToks, the Twitters, the Spotify, the Discord, the Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page. We have our email, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com for professional purposes only, people. Keep the shenanigans over there on Madam Sally's tabs, Instagram, Twitter, and our email. And if you do email us, I want you to know, guaranteed, we check it at least once a year, whether we need it or not. So we will eventually get to your emails, I promise. And you could support the show, since these episodes are not free to produce, by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section, this is for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee brand coffee till it flows out of their nose, people, and then we will film Michael doing that and point and laugh. Because that's just how we roll. If you want,
you pointed and laughed at anyway.
We're not laughing at you, Michael. We're laughing with
You're
you.
laughing near me. No, I get it.
Yeah. If you want some of that coffee brand coffee for yourself, you go to the link in the show notes. Use the code PODCASTGRUNTS. You get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. It is a win-win, people. And it is not a drop shipping operation. They roast those beans in the continental United States. Where? I don't know. I never learned to read. Okay, Rocky, I had to throw that one in there. I really can't read people. Please don't send me email. And with that, thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. And with that, we're going to hit the end button. Wait